Jordan, let's first talk about this Facebook issue. What do you make of the fact that now Iran has potentially been implicated here in perhaps some broader plan to meddle in U.S. politics?
Sure, Emily. Yeah, the big takeaway here is that this is a really good sign that these organizations, Facebook and others, are taking active steps to eliminate these kinds of disinformation accounts. The fact that Iran is getting in on the disinformation game as well, possibly related to our elections, or at least the election season, is obviously not a great sign. I mean, what it shows is that we all continue to be vulnerable to disinformation on the web, especially on social media platforms such as Facebook. These organizations don't do these things because there's no value in them. So it's a reminder that going into election season here, we all need to be really vigilant about things that look suspicious online might deserve some further scrutiny.
Is there any evidence, though, that these campaigns were specifically designed to influence the U.S. midterm elections or to just sow sort of general misinformation?
It's a good question. I think it's probably hard to tell, but it's probably a little bit of both. The way I look at it is, this is still election season. So whether these are campaigns that are designed to influence a particular congressional district one way or the other, that remains to be seen. We haven't seen that from the data that's been released. But what does seem apparent is that election season is kind of high tide for these organizations, these attacker groups, to sow their disinformation campaigns, because this is when people are paying attention to politics. This is when people are, assessing their own political views and taking in political information. So in that sense, it makes perfect sense that this would be the time for those attacks.
Now, on this call with press, Mark Zuckerberg took a similar refrain: security is an arms race. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Security is not something that you ever fully solve. Our adversaries are sophisticated and well-funded, and we have to constantly keep improving to stay ahead. But the shift we've made from reactive to proactive detection is a big change, and it's going to make Facebook safer for everyone over time.
That said, Facebook discovered these pages acting on a tip from the cybersecurity firm FireEye, and we certainly know that they bungled their response to Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Does it make you wonder, Jordan, well, is China doing this too? Could North Korea be doing this as well? Could the U.S. be using Facebook to do similar things in other countries?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think to your first point, it obviously is a great sign that we're seeing a different Facebook now regarding this issue of fake news and disinformation than we did before 2016. I think a lot of executives kind of dismissed this idea of fake news as being something that would be kind of irrelevant. So we're seeing a very different Facebook. They are being proactive. They are promoting these efforts. And I think that's ultimately a really good thing. It reminds people these efforts are still out there. But to your point as well, there's absolutely no reason to believe that other countries are not using the platform for the exact same purposes. But from Facebook's perspective, this is a hard problem to solve, like some of the Russian examples that came out in 2016, like where they pretended to be Black Lives Matter, activist pages. Their propaganda didn't look too dissimilar from actual promotional materials for Black Lives Matter events. The intentions and the motivations were completely different, but it's very hard to distinguish sometimes between, state-sponsored propaganda and legitimate activist content. It all depends on the aims.
Now, where there may be a more direct link is this developing story that the DNC reported to the FBI an attempt to hack into its voter database, albeit unsuccessfully. Walk us through what we know and where this might have originated.
Sure. What we know is that a security company called Lookout alerted the DNC to a phishing page that was created to be essentially an identical replica of a website or login page that the DNC uses to manage its voter registration database. The DNC was alerted to this. It alerted the FBI. They blocked access to that page, and then obviously are making it public. The really significant thing about this here is, again, organizations, security organizations, and political organizations are taking this threat of phishing and fake news, much more seriously, which is a great thing. And also, it does highlight, though, that, kind of one of my pet issues is this voter registration stuff, because if you tamper with voter registration records, you can really cause a lot of chaos. You can cause people to go to the wrong places on polling days. You can cause them to be targeted with inaccurate ads, things like that. So voter registration data, while quasi-public, is very valuable to both hackers and political operatives. And in this case, all it would have taken, from my understanding, understanding, is one Democratic official, could be a local official or a state official or a federal official, to log in, to fall victim to the fake phishing page and log in, enter their password, and that would give the attackers access to the Democrats' national voter database. Now, what they could do with it is still kind of open to question, but it just shows it doesn't take a lot for some of these hackers to be successful.